Hello, everyone. It's Michael Jaco with Unleashing Intuition Secrets. We have Cregg Lund back with us. The book is fantastic. If you have not read it yet, you need to get on it. Silicon Satan. I listened to it on a trip down to Texas and back. Wow, unbelievable. It's for adults only. My wife even couldn't listen to some of it. So, but I was deeply intrigued by it, and we're going to talk about it. So, Cregg, thanks so much for coming back on.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm glad you read the book.
Yeah, and like you said, a lot of people can't get through it, and I can understand. But I have a very inquisitive mind, and I've been wondering about these you basically map out the satanic side and the Luciferian side, the hierarchy of that. And I thought that was very insightful.
Yeah, it's interesting because when the book first came out, people, most of the responses I get from people were, why did you write such an awful book? And now, today, because so much has happened the last few years, 2 years, now I get the responses more like yours. Like, I'm glad I read this. It kind of explains a few things that are going on. So, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of deep insights, and you start to see how this is woven through the fabric of society, all the way through everything. And you kind of outlined that, throughout the main characters, how they grew up and they're exposed to a lot of this stuff. So that was very well done.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, a lot of people ask me, why did I put so much backstory? And it's for that very reason. I had to explain why these people were making the decisions that they were making along the way. It wasn't casual decisions. It was lifelong grooming, based on lifelong grooming. And a lot of the grooming wasn't, necessarily intentional. It's just the way our society has sort of bent itself.
Yeah, absolutely. And you took a lot of it had a lot of sex, and that's throughout society too. We saw this with Jeffrey Epstein and P. Diddy and all these guys that are doing all that stuff. Tell us a little bit how the sex works into this and how it captures people.
Well, there's kind of this idea that the rituals and all that were to enhance the sexuality of it. By the time you get to the rituals and such, your sex life is so screwed up. Your sex life has become so epic, so off the charts that you're not going to the rituals and the orgies to watch somebody else on stage doing something. I don't know how many orgies you've been to, but being with just two girls is a lot of work. But imagine being with a whole bunch and you're trying to, this idea that you're trying to watch a snuff film or a snuff act on stage. Now, the rituals involve sex mostly because it's as a humiliation factor. It's mostly as a loyalty. First, it starts off with you get a young guy like me, a young engineer, wants to take on the world, and all of a sudden there's all these women, and there's more women, and then there's the orgies and the rituals, and the offers start coming in, and it's really easy to get hung up in that, especially like I said, especially during that era, the 60s and 70s and 80s. I grew up in the 70s, born in raised in the 60s, grew up in the 70s, and I reached Silicon Valley in the 80s, and everything was just getting started back then. For example, the gravy ritual that you read about, we didn't call it the gravy ritual back then because it hadn't really been established yet. It was going on a lot in Hollywood, so everybody knew about it. Everybody knew about the humiliation and loyalty rituals, but at the time it just seemed okay. In retrospect, it was horrible, and I'm still dealing with it all these years later. But that was the whole, that was by design.
Yeah, the shock the system. You kind of get coached in. Oh yeah, you just sign your name here, and then you find out. It's like, oh my God. So that was one of the big oh my God moments in the book. But there's many more, many more, and it just builds on that. So I have so many questions. I saw where the ritual started to go into the sex, obviously, and then it gets into like the rape and so forth. What is the humiliation again, I guess, but what is the bigger picture on that?
On which? What were you talking about exactly?
Raping someone that wants to enter into, because you have the
Yeah.
Satan. And then as you start to move up the ladder, if you will, hierarchical ladder, if you want to make it to the Luciferian high-end side, you're going to have to go through some serious ritual abuse.
Right. So it's in the book. There's two different types of rape. There's the real rape, or they're like the Hawaiians and stuff, but then the rape, the rape that you're going through in the rituals isn't exactly rape because it's consensual. You can leave anytime you want, right? So it's just part of getting you to make really bad decisions as you go through this process, because what they want. And one thing I try to stress is that you don't just show up in Silicon Valley or Hollywood and say, I'm here to sell my soul, where do I sign? And then people show up and start, to buy it. It doesn't work that way. You have to show up, and you have to cultivate your own path, pretty much. So there's a path in Silicon Valley, a billionaire path, at least the billionaire at least, and you see them all over the place. But once you kind of sort of stumble, for me anyway, I just sort of stumbled onto it. I like to say I Forrest Gumped my way in, and then you just start making decisions. You can stop anytime you want. Well, not anytime you want. You get to a point where it's really hard to get back out. It's like any club, any gang, any cult. It's really difficult to get back out. So rape, by that time you don't really look at it as rape. If you're doing it to somebody or somebody's doing it to you, it's not really rape. It's more like just part of the process. It's just one of the necessary evils. And there's a lot of people who enjoy it, but you move beyond that. If you're one of those people that enjoys that kind of thing, you're not going to go very far. They'll weed you out right away.
Wow. You can see that. So you're basically watched, and you're going to go to these rituals, kind of like I guess P. Diddy and Epstein,
right? And
then they're going to they're going to want you to do more and do other things,
right? So you start getting offers and invitations, and you can say no and go the other direction. There's a lot of people that I know in Silicon Valley back then and even now who never were exposed to any of this because they didn't put themselves in that position. They weren't that desperate to be rich and famous. Mm-hmm. They just wanted a career, and that's what they got. They had a family, they went to church on Sunday, and they retired, and they're doing fine. And then there's people like me and some of the others that you hear about now that want the whole world, and that's what they were after. And that's what they're, right now I see them, they're getting really close to their goal of taking over the world, kicking God. They're never going to be able to kick God out, but that's their goal. That's what they wanted. It's not my goal. It's not what I believe. It's what they believe. They do believe that they can break into heaven, the other side of the veil, the other side of the firmament, the other side of whatever it is, through the dimensions. I mean, there's a million different ways to describe it, and kick out God, take over, and live forever on their earth, on their version of the earth. Wow, that's what they believe. That's truly what they believe, and they're getting close. I mean, everybody can see it.
Yeah, they are getting close, and so that's the very great benefit of reading your book and seeing how they do these things. And I never could figure it out, and you basically laid it all out. So it's very clear to me now, how this is throughout all society, like we were talking about, the political side and so forth. Now, I know you with Jerome Corsi. You did a show, I think it was Nino, and you guys talked about Obama's dinner with America's tech leaders.
Right.
And
that's how Corsi and I got started, actually. That's how the book got started. I never set out to write a book. It was his idea, because he's an author. But anyway, go on.
So here's all these people. Goes through all the different people that are there. Let's look at they're basically toasting. And they have Obama there, and we can kind of go through. Let me get to the point where it's got the big picture. So here's almost circle Obama. He's right here. Larry Ellison, who you guys said was basically the guy in charge. Tell us a little bit about this group.
So I've never seen this article. This picture right here I had. So it was way back when Q came around. And Corsi was doing the decodes on Patriot Soapbox or something. I was watching that, of course. Very interesting. And but they were getting it wrong. I could tell they're getting it wrong. And at that point, I'd never talked to anybody about anything. I was hiding. I was still hiding.
Yeah.
And I decided to contact Corsi and set him straight on what's going on with the Tech Titans and the DC. Right. So I sent him this picture and I said, this is not Obama's table. This is Larry Ellison's table. This is the night that they toasted the alliance. See, the Lucy's group up in groups of threes. And then the groups of threes group up in threes. So you have and it's kind of strange. The way I figured this out is because I watch horses, and horses do the same thing. People have no idea what I'm talking about, but you have to be around a lot of horses to understand. But anyway, I could tell what was going on just by looking at this picture. So I contacted Corsi and told him that I think that this is the night that they made the alliance. Those that the DC Lucy's and the Tech Lucy's. Up until that point, the Tech Lucy's were still sort of the geeks in the basement. And now look at them. From this night forward, they've become world leaders. These Tech Titans.
Yep. Wow, that's impressive. So
he and I got to talking about. He was very good at getting me to open up. I never talked. Like I said, I had never talked to anybody. Barely even spoke to my wife about a lot of it. Mm-hmm. He got me to open up, and then he said we need to write a book. But it took a long time for me to write that book because it was really difficult to do. It took 6 years to write it. But I'm glad I did. And for a while there, I was wondering what the hell did I do? I got myself in a lot of trouble over it. But now that people like you and others are starting to contact me and say, I think I understand now. I see what you see. And now I'm glad I wrote it.
Yeah. So I'm looking at this. So I'm gonna throw a little bit of my 2 cents in here.
Okay.
And see where you go with it. So it's got Hennessy is the president of Stanford. Now, when I worked for the CIA for 11 years, I would say the great majority of the case officers, the CIA guys who are getting intel and so forth, were from Stanford, or there were Mormons. So, do you want to speak on that?
Well, okay. I used to say all roads lead to Stanford in Silicon Valley. So you have Stanford and you have the Palo Alto Research Center, and that's where a lot of these, Google and Facebook, everything got started. We're in those complexes, those organizations. Mm-hmm. And the CIA was allowed to have their versions. MK Ultra is sort of a small version of what the Lucy's have. What they do. But that's a whole different conversation. But so yeah, the research part and Stanford. If you look, Larry Ellison has a lot of connections to those two places as well. I'm sorry, I forgot what your question was. I was trying
but basically the CIA connection to obviously Stanford, but what the CIA connection is with the Lucy's.
Yeah. So when I was there, the CIA guys, there was a couple of CIA guys around, but they weren't a big play back then. I don't know if they even, I suspect they are now. It was the guys, the really creepy guys behind the scenes who you had to watch out for. In the book, it's the Malcolm character. And I kind of modeled that particular character after Peter Strzok. How you said it?
Peter Strzok?
Yeah, whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah, so the FBI
because
so you brought them in. Good job.
Oh, yeah. Well, because when I was watching that guy going through the hearings, he reminded me of a lot of these guys that I ran into. A lot of these.
Wow. Very arrogant and full of themselves. Yeah.
And evil. You walk into the room with them, and just you feel your spidey hairs go up. There's something going on here with this guy. Stay away from him.
Yeah. They had some pictures of him, and he did look evil during his hearings on several occasions. Maybe he was sending out some some curses to people. Who knows?
Who knows? Kind of like Tim Waltz and his wife they were trying to do spell casting when when they're out there getting everybody to wave hands. They were spell casting it up there.
Wow. So that's kind of cool to have your insights on all this. Now, Mark Zuckerberg is another. So they're saying that I've heard from many sources, and when I was in the CIA, they basically alluded to the fact that they had created Facebook. What are your thoughts?
I'm sure they did. So Facebook and Google, I don't know. Google is a better example because I remember during that time there was a few search engines. There was something called Excite, and then there was Yahoo, and a couple others, and they're all pretty lame. And then all of a sudden Google came out of nowhere. And as engineers, so Google to engineers, to us as mathematicians, Google is a number. Right? It's the biggest, it's the highest number you can ever have. I mean, it's called Google for some reason. There's some weird story about some mathematician and his child. Anyway, so we really liked that system. And we weren't really sure exactly who wrote, because we knew everybody knew everybody back then. It just kind of came out of nowhere. These guys who claimed it, nobody knew who they were really.
Yeah.
So yeah, then you start digging around and you find out, oh, okay. They never really created it. They created something. They were given source code and they re-engineered it and released it as something called Google. So somebody had created that, right? So the Lucys never create anything. They never develop anything. They steal everything.
Right.
Same with the CIA. So somebody developed it. Some engineer developed it and was showing it off, and then they got wind of it, took a look at it, and said, "Yeah, this is what we need. This is a good start." So they paid this guy off or red scarfed him and then took over and claimed, so as not to scare anybody that, no, this is pure organic, developed out of Silicon Valley, killer app.
Wow. So
a lot of I'm sorry.
Each one of these people, but let's move to the big dog. Let's move to Larry Ellison. So Larry Ellison got his start with the CIA as well.
Right. Yeah.
He developed a program for the CIA, and that's how he got his funding. That's how he got his start, and that's how he's gotten big. Now, I can tell you perhaps know this, but I can tell the audience, the CIA doesn't necessarily care if there's money made. They want the control and they want the power. So they will come in with a business model like a Google or Facebook or Oracle, and they will pump money into it and get it big, so that they can have a lot of control. What are your thoughts? Right,
you're exactly right. It's all about power and position, and it's not healthy competition that you're seeing. They're competing against each other. It's the different Lucy clubs competing against the different Lucy clubs. So I like to describe it as a Game of Thrones. So you got all these different houses battling to be number one, right? Yeah. And they're telling all their peasants that work for them that no, we're doing this for you. We're doing this so you can live better lives. When that's not true at all. They don't care. Same thing with all these guys. They don't really care. They're not doing this to make our lives better. In fact, they could, but our lives aren't, right? They're getting worse. The more technology there is, the more claustrophobic I start to feel. Right? I think a lot of people feel the same way. It's just closing in on us.
Yeah,
a lot of this stuff could be really helpful. Very helpful. I mean, it was supposed to be when we developed it. That's what we thought we were doing.
Yeah. I was going to ask you that. You had high ideals. When I was in the CIA, I had high ideals, and then I started to see there's these very corrupt people behind the scenes. Some of them I saw. It was obvious they were like reptilian.
Yeah.
They had the slit eyes when they get angry, and they would look at me if I ask them the wrong question, and they get that slit eye, and I could see them like getting big, and I was like, "Whoa, okay, all right, I'll back down." Okay, no, cool, we're cool. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I run into those guys all the time, but they don't. But because I'm a small guy, they don't puff up for me. They try to intimidate me through psychological or emotional angles more. But yeah, those people are all over the place, and I'm seeing them more and more. I used to see people that I thought were just the creepiest looking people. Mm-hmm. And you never saw me anyplace, but now I'm starting to notice that that look is starting to come out all over the place. It's the same look that Oprah has now, and Kelly and her Osborne and her Sharon Osbourne. Somebody put out a photo of some of the richest women, and they all are developing that same look. And I think it's because they are doing what they were doing in Silicon Valley. They're changing them. They're physically changing themselves. They're doing so many rituals and doing so many terrible things that you're going to see physical changes. I mean, mostly they're changing their spirit and their soul, but it's going to manifest into, noticeable physical changes. So they're trying to normalize that. So we get we get used to it and accept seeing these weirdos on the street. They got, this whole idea of population depopulation is true because there's too many of us. But they need a remnant. They need a healthy remnant because this realm that we live in, the energy source is humanity. Everything is based on humanity, right? Literature, art, that's all humanity, and they have to keep that around. They have AI right now trying to mimic it, but that's not going to work. They tried to dumb down the art world with paintings like Pollock, so we would accept the crap that AI could come up with. But they're realizing, no, we need real, honest to God artists in our future, because otherwise they're going to get bored too, right? So their future, the future that they envision, is this utopia where you see it all over the place. It's in all our stories. It's in all our sci-fis. That truly is their vision, where they have a bunch of slave humans who are, basically happy and healthy, but they're in complete control of everything. And God is not here anymore. God is gone.
Yeah. Wow.
They are the gods.
Well, that's where the creative side comes from. You would think they would at least allow some of that. Like a guy like you, I think they probably brought you in because you're incredibly, you're a genius, incredibly talented, and can develop all kind of stuff. And you were attracted to developing yourself and realizing this. And then they slowly started to tempt you and pull you in. Tell us how that went.
Well, it's not like there's a group of people that are standing around waiting for guys like me to show up. It's like I said, you cultivate your own path while you're there, and if you're good in a particular area or a particular, you have to work. You have to produce when you're there. You can't just show up and sign a contract in your own blood and you're good to go. Yeah, you have to produce. You have to, and so I had a knack for it. I had a real knack for technology and math and physics and. So as you are weeding your way down this path and you go to this function or this orgy or this ritual, and you do well, you impress the right people, and it's not like you even know who to impress, and it's not like they know it either. So sooner or later you get an offer, and it's an offer that nobody else would get, right? So you take that offer, and now you make a little bit more money, and then it keeps happening. Pretty soon you're so deep that you start accepting the whole kind of the whole world as being their whole world as sort of the norm, and everybody else is the ones that screwed up. It's like you feel like you're special, right?
Yeah. And
then you get to a point, though, most people would. You get to a point where you go, oh, I don't know what I'm doing anymore. This is I got to get out of here. And when they won't let you, that's when you get really scared. That's when I got really, really worried. It's like when I realized, oh, they're threatening me if I leave. So, it took a while to get out. So
tell us the difference between the Satanists, which are basically the puppets of the Luciferians, and the Luciferians. How does that system work?
Well, so I called them the Lucies, and I probably should have called them something different because it makes too much of a connection to the Luciferians. And the reason why I did that is because their religion
by Elton John, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. So that's kind of it's Lucifer.
Yeah, you see Lucy all over the place, right? I mean, the word Lucy, there's Lucy this, Lucy that, but the Luciferians that the people that I ran into, I didn't know what a Luciferian or Illuminati was back then, right?
Yeah.
But the people that I was running into, they don't really worship. They don't. It's not like Eyes Wide Shut, Eyes Wide Shut. They don't put on long robes and go in and chant and all that. I think Hollywood does that to make it seem like there's more to it than that. If you don't see that, then you're not seeing what they're doing, right? If that makes sense. But their religion or the way they think was really in line with the Mormons. So they like the Mormons, they believe that there's two gods. There's an unknown God, a higher God, an unknown God, and then there's two sons, I guess, and the good son and the bad son. And we got the bad. Our God, the Yahuwah, the one that the Christians pray to, is the bad God, and their God, they call him Hasatan. I'm not sure what that means. I think it's a Hebrew term or something. but they were calling him Hasatan, not Lucifer. In the original, I did call it Hasatan, but the editors, everybody said, nah, nobody's going to know what that is. So just go back calling him Lucifer. But I have a trouble with that because I don't really know who Lucifer is exactly. But anyway, so I call it. So the difference is that the Satanists knowingly worship an evil god, and they do it because they want to cause trouble. Do what thou wilt, right? They don't like rules. They don't like conforming. They don't want anybody telling them what to do. Sort of the outcast, I guess, for the most part. But these Lucys in a lot of the parties and orgies I went to would have these groupies, these Satanists around all the time, because it kind of, first of all, it kind of sets the tone, the sort of the demonic tone of the evening, having these weirdos around. But also, if anything goes wrong, this is the main reason. If anything goes wrong, they'll just blame it on the Satanists, because nobody really knew who the Lucys were. They knew, especially back then with rock and roll and all that, so they would just blame everything on. They would say, "Oh, it's just another satanic ritual gone wrong," right? And sometimes the rituals do go wrong. They don't have full control over everything.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now you did a show with Nino, and there was that guy that had been a priest in all kinds of different religions, and he talked about the Mormons as being
William. I can't remember his name now. William something.
Yeah, very, very, very fascinating. The three of you guys together. That was a great show. Great reveals. So he's talking about all the different things that he's been involved with, and how he got tired of being a Satanist. So then he went to the Mormon church, and that was even worse. Like, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I knew what he was talking about because I'd seen it.
Wow.
And, a lot of these guys. So the realm or the arena that he was in, there's overlap with the arena that I was in, but it's two different kind of things going on. His arena is more about the spiritual side, the spiritual war, the demons and the angels and all that. Where this side is just all about taking over the world, making money. It's the bottom line. They don't really care about. They don't really care about the worshiping side. In fact, a lot of the people I ran into, a lot of the guys I ran into, kind of looked at them as hobbyists more than anything. It's like, it's just doing these rituals to the altar. That's fun. It's a hobby, but it's not getting us what we want. So the main crux of the rituals is to get knowledge transfers, is to get forbidden knowledge, right? Or maybe not so forbidden, but to get knowledge that they wouldn't have got any other way. And that's through the spiritual realm or the demonic realm, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what it is. I just know that it exists. I've seen it. I've experienced it. And people argue with me about, well, it's this, it's that. So I don't know what it is. I've never claimed to know. I just know that I've seen it and I know that it's real. And people need to understand that it's coming after you. It's coming after everybody. And it has most of them right now. Most people don't realize it, but they're already owned.
One ritual where people go through, they get the Black Eye Club. So what?
Yeah, I don't know I don't know what that is either. I mean, they're doing that is. Go ahead.
They go through some kind of ritual, and I've heard there's like some kind of bug or something, or that goes into their eye and causes problems. But you see, like you're talking about, a lot of the upper, the wealthy and the Hollywood crew and all those people, even some of the top politicians and the Pope, they've all gotten these black eyes. And it seems to be, some people talk about it. It seems to be some kind of ritual they go through, and then after changed, they're different.
Yeah. So when I was there, like I said, things were just getting established, and they have evolved quite a bit since I've left. But I've kept an eye on it. And I still have my finger on it. I still know people there, so I can take a pulse anytime I need to.
Nice.
But on the easy side, it's probably a ritual, a humiliation ritual, and they're probably getting punched. That's the easy side. On the hard side, it's probably some sort of changing ritual where the effect is not only do they end up with a black eye for someone, the worm or whatever, but it also changes their physiology. I mean, because I've seen these people, I've seen people change, and they're changing at the same time that they're getting more and more bizarre. You know.
Oh yeah.
They're getting very rich and very successful, but when you go, you go to meetings with them, regular old meetings, go to Sprint in Indiana or something, and have a regular meeting with them, with people. And then you go back to San Francisco or wherever we are, and you go out to dinner with them or something, and suddenly their true personality comes out, and the more you hang on, the weirder and more bizarre people were starting to get. And that's one of the things that was really starting to scare me was I don't want to be like these people. I need to get out of here. You know, I grew up on a horse ranch. I'm a horse guy, not
an earth guy. Yeah, definitely.
Not Luciferian.
Earth guy. Yeah, what a concept. Yeah. Now, so we're going a little bit deeper now.
Okay.
The blood ritual type stuff.
Yeah.
And at first, you don't know anything about it. You just go into this orgy, whatever, and they offer you like this vial or taste of blood or whatever, and then it just transforms you. Tell us about that.
Well, it's not. Again, it's more of an emotional, spiritual change than anything else. I never got that far. That's when I fled. When I'd been an observer, and at the time, and it's gonna sound like a cop out, but at the time I was still struggling with: is this really real? Is this real? Are they really doing this? And of course they are, but at the time you really don't want to believe it, right? You're trying to make excuses, and people still do. They still say, "Oh, like the Bohemian Grove, oh, it's just a fake cremation." No, it's real. They wouldn't go to that much trouble and then fake it at the very last minute. It's all real, right? Yeah. So these rituals aren't so much as an elixir as it is just grooming you more and more, getting you to break your taboos so that you go farther and farther and farther down that path. So that path, that billionaire path that you go on, I mean, there is a cost. You're losing a lot of yourself, and you're picking up things along the way, personality traits, etc., that you'll never be able to get rid of, right? I mean, you can, but it's really hard. It's really difficult. Yeah, I really have a hard time talking about those blood rituals. At first, I wouldn't talk about them at all, but now people know about them, and that's why I contacted courses, because I noticed that when they were doing those Q drops, people were starting to talk about, some of the infant rituals, and I thought, oh my God! And then I saw this movie called Mother, 2017 with Elizabeth Hurley, and they actually have if you want to see what the ritual looks like, you can watch that scene. I don't recommend it. But it's very close to what they do.
Wow. Right?
I mean, and then there's another movie called Neon Demon or something, I think, and it's another good scene in there where the new girl is in the bathroom with the established girls, and they're asking her, "Are you food or sex?" And that's basically what you are when you go. When these women, these girls, are brought into these parties. They're either there for food or sex, and a lot of times both.
Yeah, and you talk about that in the book where the main character's, significant other, they kind of like have a breaking up, and she's with another group, and they're Satanists. So they come to this high-end party, and she finds out that she was going to be sacrificed, but last minute, the Larry Ellison type guy, changes his mind. So and somebody else gets sacrificed, but the sacrifice, happens with the Satanist, and they're all willing to do that because they want to look good, to the upper crust, like the top people in Silicon Valley or whatever.
Well, the victims aren't necessarily the Satanists, but they come through the Satanist club, Satanist avenues, right? The satanic avenues. So the Lucy's themselves aren't the ones. Everybody makes a big deal about Epstein. There's a lot of Epsteins out there. There's a lot. And,
not just really. I was like, there's no way Epstein's gone. It's over. No, it's got to be a lot of.
Well, they're doing that. They're doing that so that people can say, well, he's not. If he wasn't connected to Epstein, he's not a pedophile, right?
Right.
Well, what if he's connected to others? Why does it have to be that one? But
point.
Anyway, yeah, I forgot what we're talking about.
So. Yeah. So there's. This blew me away. and I did the research on it. I'm like, holy moly. When you're talking about the people in the Hawaiian culture,
Oh yeah,
cannibals and math crazy, you know.
yeah. So why are all these elites so obsessed with Hawaii? I mean, there's a lot of there's a lot of
that too, yeah. So it all made sense.
Yeah, well, Hawaii, the ancient Hawaiian culture was the most successful maybe not the most, but one of the most successful cannibalistic societies ever. And most cannibalistic societies sort of implode because they get too crazy, right? Everybody goes insane eating each other. But what they did in Hawaii was they separated into two different classes, you know, the elite or the elites, and then the kama'inas, the common people, you know, the regular people. And then they made sure that they mostly ate infants, right? And that's the original Kalua pig. When the Christians came over and saw what they were doing, they talked them into going with piglets, which they still do today. And the Hawaiians will argue, but there's a lot of books. One called A Shoal of Time that it spells out the history of this Hawaiian mess. But
yeah, it's definitely hidden now. But so research, you can find it, which I did.
The Shoal of Time.
Kamehameha, like, you know, eating Captain Cook, and they're like, oh no, he was being treating him with respect.
Yeah, they try to say
all the meat and giving the bones back to the crew. It's like, what? Okay. So yeah, you made a good point. You know, it kind of ties in with their rituals.
Right. So they really like the spirit, the cannibalistic spirit of Hawaii, right? So if this is an ancient civilization that was successful at cannibalism, think about how much blood and demons and other bad things are still there, and these guys like it. They like being around them. You know,
wow.
They like that power.
Yeah, obviously, and they like to use people. They like to put them in positions of power and then use them. Like you talk about the main character in the book, they're constantly, you know, moving him up. And then they had that one scene. I won't go into detail because so people will read the book. They need to read the book and see all this stuff. They should be intrigued by now. They should be ordering it right away. You can get it. I have it. I got it with the Audible, and I got the actual Kindle book, and you can get the actual physical copy as well. And you get it from Craig's site. Your site is
no, I don't have my site anymore. I took all that down. You can get through Amazon.
Okay, just go right
and
down.
You can get all four. There's a hard copy as well. So hard copy, paperback, Kindle, and audio.
Very good. Yeah. So the audio was really good. I like the way it was narrated.
Okay, I have to check that out. I haven't listened to it on the audio.
I've done that to my books too. Amazon gives you that option to, you want to make it Audible, and I was like, yeah, why not? So I haven't even checked my book out either. So it's funny. Yeah,
my publisher takes care of all that, so I just I log in when they say, oh look, it's on Audible now. Didn't know.
Nice, very good. Yeah, it worked out really good. I don't have the time to sit down and read a lot these days. So, and I think most of my audience is the same. So definitely get the audiobook, guys, and listen to it. And you'll see if you listen to it around other people, they're going to be like, what? And then you're going to have to go off on your own, like I had to do with my wife. So then I put earbuds in and sort of kept listening to it.
I tried to write it knowing that people wouldn't be able to sit down in one long stretch. I tried to write it in smaller chunks, no chapters, just a bunch of chunks that kind of non-linear, I'm not a writer. I don't know. If I was going to write it now, I'd probably write it differently, but it is what it is.
So do you have another book coming out along the same lines?
Yeah, I do. I'm working on it. I'm working on a follow-up to, because there's a lot in that book that there's a lot that I didn't put in that book, believe it or not. I mean, there's a lot of things that they do. Yeah.
Well, you've built the foundation really well. And then towards the end of the book, you just blew it up. I'm like, holy moly. It's like, yeah, this is the real deal here. So,
and it's a fiction. It's a fiction book, but these people are actually. This goes on. I can't stress that enough. This is going on right now. They're doing it right now, right as we speak.
Yeah. You got Larry Ellison has a 330 something, 330 degree base or whatever island in Hawaii, and Zuckerberg's got his own.
No. Ellison owns the entire island of Lanai.
Yeah, the whole
entire island, not just a piece of it. The whole island. Well, actually, there's one little chunk he doesn't own. That's the administrative part, but he owns everything else. He owns most of Tahoe too. I don't know if you're aware of that. He owns most of Malibu.
Yeah, the top two hotels here are under the Hyatt, and there was one that had been sitting vacant for like decades. He bought that and is refurbishing it. So Incline Village is basically going to Larry Ellison and the Zuckerberg and I guess all the other guys. So
do you know who his children are? Larry Ellison, Megan Ellison and David Ellison. They're two of the top Hollywood producers. Any movie that you can name, they are involved in it.
Now he's also into samurai stuff. He's got a compound, huge compound that's based off of samurai times and everything. Right. And I heard that he has one of his offices. When you walk down the hall, he's got like samurai, armor and swords and everything.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've been down that hall. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, he's got antique samurai uniforms. It's very intimidating when you go down this hallway, right? And then he's got a samurai, a sword on his desk that he claims that sword killed hundreds of thousands of people or something.
Wow. So yeah, some of those swords are like worth millions of dollars.
Yeah.
They basically 1,000 times they'll like hammer it, heat it, hammer it, keep folding it and everything. So $1 million swords. I've had I did some of that art for a little while. Had a guy that taught me. I started the hand-to-hand program for the Navy SEAL teams, and I delved into that stuff. That stuff is very intense, and you have to be in a totally different mindset to do a lot of that samurai work. So it's very interesting. You have to be very creative, and someone that the art of the blade, you're on a different category as far as like a fighter and a warrior. Most people are like, we're like, most people here in the West, we're like, shoot the guns. But to be a real creative, badass warrior, you learn the art of the blade. So that's very interesting. He's into that.
Yeah, well, a lot of us were. I was also into it. I studied a lot of Japanese swordsmanship and Japanese and European.
Wow.
Yeah, it was sort of a thing to do back then.
Your creative aspect. Yeah.
Yeah, I studied with Master Lee at the Alamo East-West Kung Fu, and he does Kung Fu and karate both at the same dojo.
Wow.
But it's a different discipline, and the way I studied, they would not let us use wooden swords. We had to start with metal.
Really?
Wow. Yeah, sharp metal too. So their attitude was, well, if you start off with play swords, then you're going to develop bad habits that you're going to have to break later. So let's just start with the real deal, and you do cut yourself, but you learn not to.
Yeah, because you're rolling around with that blade, so that's interesting. Wow.
Yeah, a lot of people cut their feet more than anything. When they're swinging, and then cut their feet.
Wow. Very cool. Wow, that's another level to Cregg. So, very good, very good. So so what else would you say as far as like where we're going? So it sounds like these tech giants are taking over the world now. Are we doomed, or is there a way out of this?
Well, I don't think we're doomed.
Yeah.
I think there's a way out of it, but not for everybody. I think a lot of people are just so stuck into it. They're never going to get out. A lot of people are already, like I said, there are other people already owned. They'll never get themselves back. But guys like me, I'm going nomadic. We have our base camp up here, but we're setting up so we can bail within 48 hours with all life support systems. And so I'm checking out these trailers right now with very sophisticated life support and security systems, because I feel compelled to. In fact, we're gonna head towards your way probably in a couple of weeks.
Oh, neat.
Just to kind of go on a road trip, see how well these trailers work. But I got them rigged up so that I can just pull up to a body of water and throw the hose into it and suck up whatever water we need, and it'll be clean by the time it reaches my tank over here.
Incredible.
So I've got a lot of filtering systems and such. But I don't know why more people aren't becoming more self-sufficient. The self-sufficiency right now is the key. If you can learn how to survive, like I was telling, we get all of our power of the creep. It's a creep. It's got a 30-foot drop, a 700-foot line, and a 30-foot drop, but it powers everything. And it's just a creep. So why doesn't everybody have that? It's free. I spent maybe $2,500 in hardware. But yeah, it works fine.
Yeah, I mean, you probably came across some of those energy systems where we wouldn't have to rely on hardly anything anymore, like nuclear batteries that will last 10,000 years, something crazy. Wow, did you come across any of that?
Yeah, I've looked into all that stuff, but it's nothing's available. So I just went with a micro turbine, hydro turbine that I picked up from a guy called Laniston Alternative Power. It's just an alternator, and I charge a bunch of big battery bank down there, and then I convert to AC and run it up to the trailers, and it's all free. We do have solar, but we live in the Cascades, so solar isn't a big deal up here, especially the wintertime when we're in the shadow of the mountain. Solar doesn't really do anything, so we rely on the creek. But my point, though, is that people think you need a lot of rushing water to get hydroelectric, but you don't. And I can prove it. I mean, it's a small creek.
Yeah. So it's just like a hose, and you have like the basically the rotation thing inside of it, and water.
So I have a 3-foot water line coming up. So I made a little pond at the top. Just sandbagged it off. I have to go up there and clean it out a lot. And then I run. It's a 700-foot line, and it drops about 30 feet by the time it reaches the turbine. And it's just I break the line up into 2 jets, and the jets spin. I have this propeller on the top. It looks like a bunch of spoons, and that spins the alternator on there and sends it 3-wire AC up to the rectifier, and then to the controller, and then to the batteries, and then to the inverter, and up to here to the converter, and then back to the batteries. It's kind of complicated, but it works.
So do you think that with the the oil situation now, that power is going to be very hard to come by, and transportation and so forth, they're already starting to shut down a lot of stuff? You think that's
right
on purpose?
Oh yeah, they're gonna put the squeeze on us as hard as they can. And again, they can't wipe us all out. Even if they wanted to, they can't. But they don't want to. They need a remnant. They need the guidestones, 500,000, whatever. But they do need a remnant. But yeah, I think it's gonna get a lot worse. I don't think it's ever gonna get better. But I'm sort of a pessimist because of my peculiar perspective based on my strange experiences. But I'm still alive. It's been a long time, and I'm still here. So I think that if people let go of a lot of the bullshit they're holding on to, they'll do a lot better. I don't know if that makes sense, but I mean, I'm not trying to preach here. I'm just saying that people need to.
I totally agree with you. I up all the time and move, so I think being nomadic, or being able to be nomadic, is very important. Probably will be, like you're saying, more so in the future, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you're familiar with Michael Yon, but he's got this theory about famine creates human migration, human osmosis migration, where people just start moving. So when I say we're going to bug out, I'm because I want to get away from the crowds. So if people start heading up this direction, then I'm going the other direction. That's sort of the idea. I want to always be able to go where there's nobody. And if you got your rig set up right, you can go anywhere. You just need, as long as there's water. You just got to find water. And that may mean drilling a well. But I'm prepared to do it.
So I had a guy that actually this guy's wife. we were eating at a restaurant, and we were talking about Lake Tahoe, and she was like, "Oh yeah, my husband, I'm not going to say what he does, but he goes into some of those homes, Larry Ellison and some of these other people, and does work, and they make him sign a non-disclosure agreement. So the work that he's doing is basically where they're going to do parties and so forth. And so does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
They're doing it here.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've been to places where I could tell the staff is very, very scared. They're very disciplined. You think, it's like you think you're going on a retreat, but you end up someplace else, and it's pretty strange, pretty weird. And it's been going on for a long time. So I haven't been to any of these parties for 30 years, but I can't imagine how much they've evolved now. They were pretty fancy and out there when I was around, very fancy, very expensive, very high dollar, no expense, and it was all the time.
Yeah, you were talking about how I think you were talking about how you had a certain drink that you drank, and it was like very, very high dollar. And
my drink was
maybe it was in a book, but
my drink was Trey Louis. So it's about $150 a shot now.
Wow.
But it comes in a Baccarat crystal bottle. I think the bottles were about $400 or $500. But
sure.
And Dom Perignon is a normal champagne, and everything. And it's weird because I remember one time I got to the point where I thought, man, I want to go home and just make some homemade tacos. I was so tired of going out, eating fancy dinners all the time. It's like a homemade taco sounded really good.
That's
it's like I didn't have the means to even do that. Everything was too, my lifestyle was so weird.
Yeah.
I didn't really have a kitchen that I could walk into.
Yeah. Wow. And you were living, or at least, I'm kind of going by what the book has, living in a very, very high-end place, and everything's got your, everything, all expense paid, credit card, and you're in the best clothes, and like you're saying, $150 glasses of, your favorite beverage, and you're eating these incredible meals. And then they invite you to a nice retreat, and there's these crazy rituals that go on there, and cannibalism, and somebody was invited to eat, and they're like, I'm out, and then everything got shut down. Is that what happens to people that don't go all the way? Yeah,
you'll lose everything.
Yeah.
In fact, for me, that was one of the hardest parts about leaving, because when I finally fled the last time, I'd been run off the road, and I broke my neck was broken, and I got $100,000 insurance from it. I got 65, and the attorney got 35, right? Mm-hmm. And I kind of forgot about that money, and then I left. And they took everything. I had to leave behind I had a $12 million portfolio. It doesn't sound like a lot now, but back then that was pretty substantial. Yeah. I had two custom built Harleys. I had a real nice sailboat. I had a couple of places here and there. But I had to walk away from all that. I came across that 65,000, and I thought, okay, I can use this to escape. That's a lot of money, actually, right? But at that,
back then,
who I was back then, it didn't seem like very much, right? It seemed like I'm gonna need more than this. But it lasted a long time.
It's a lot more than that. Yeah. So you got, back then, $12 million portfolio. Even today, that's incredibly substantial. And then all of the
just walk away from it.
Homes and high-end Harleys and vehicles and so forth. You have to just walk away from all of it. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I left the CIA, I left, and they basically came after me and destroyed my life. So I had to walk away from a lot of stuff too. So I completely understand.
Yeah, it's hard, huh?
Yeah, it's very, very, very hard to be, on the high end. Everybody, looks up to you and, idolizes you and wants you. And then you just don't do one thing they want you to do, or they can't control you. That's what happened with me. They couldn't control me. And then they came in and destroyed me. It sounds like that's what happened with you as well.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, they. And it's not really a particular day. it's whoever decides that.
Right.
So if I'm working on a particular project, and I got there, a particular way into that project, and then I decide that I want to bail. It's kind of a different scenario in Silicon Valley than back then than it would be otherwise, because everybody knows how everybody would know how you got there, and if you leave, it's not like they're not allowing you to leave, but they're making sure that if you leave, you're either going to be scared to death of them, or they're going to ruin your reputation. No one will ever believe anything you say.
Yep.
Right.
And
they justify it by trying to protect their own industry. They're trying to protect their own power and position. Yep. You don't hear them talk about money very much. It's always
over the years. They completely, no contact with them anymore. In kind of a certain way, and to a certain extent, that's expected, because the stuff I was involved with is super high, top secret stuff. So they got to shut it down on a certain level. But friends and so forth, no contact anymore. Just completely cut me out. I tried to get jobs in other places where I was just way over qualified, but I couldn't get them because they'd basically, put out the word that this guy is shit, and it's crazy.
Yeah. I even tried getting contracts, under assumed names, just to keep the revenue coming. When I left, I went up to the north to go to California, and I hooked up with a bunch of horseback riding. Two horseback riding outfits, and so I was kind of just hiding out with the rest of the tweakers up there cleaning stalls, and it felt really good for a long time. But then it's like one night it's like I'm in the mood to going into the city, and that's a big mistake because it's really easy to get stuck right back into it. Get caught right back up into it.
Mm. Is that when you got into your accident, when you went back?
The accident. So the accident happened. By going back, the accident happened after I made my first sort of attempt. So first they threw me into a mental institution, a maximum security mental institution.
Jeez.
And I managed to escape. Who can do that?
Wow.
And then when it looked like I was starting to bolt because I was turning stuff down, that's when we got ran off the road. And then and it's one of those things. People will say, "Well, it was just an accident." It's like, yeah, okay, just an accident, all right. But these things keep happening. So I'm really bad. Either I have really bad luck, or it's not an accident. And then I finally just I started getting back in. Sort of kind of gave in. Started playing the game, and I thought, well, I'll try to make a whole bunch of money and squirrel it away. But they make that impossible because everybody's got their hands in everything. You really don't. I don't know about today, but back then you don't really. The reason why they could take everything away is because I would join all these LLCs and these partnerships and the company, and they would say, well, it's to protect you, from taxes and crap. And I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just an engineer there. I'm just going, okay, let me sign where? Okay, let me sign that. And then all of a sudden your credit card doesn't work anymore. The Diners Club's cut off, and call them. It's like, well, it's not even your club. I mean, it's not even your card. It's a company card.
Right.
So yeah.
And that's another reason why so many people just continue on, because they're going to lose everything, and they
it's
won't
easier.
have any resource. Yeah, because he'll destroy them. Like we're talking about. But
right. So, and then when you go back in, all of a sudden you got that power and position again, and it's like, phew. Well, I'm never going to do that again, because now all of a sudden you're getting the attention, and you get to go to the restaurants again, and you get the good service and for easy first class, and where cleaning stalls, make the choice. Cleaning stalls, I tell you, cleaning stalls is a lot better than is the right choice. I mean, you learn a lot about yourself when you're shoveling horse shit. I mean, like, literally.
I got to do that someday. That's good. I have shoveled cow shit, so and that was pretty lovely.
Cow shit's heavy.
It is really heavy
and sloppy. At least horse shit's easier to deal with.
Try, and that would be easy. All right. So Cregg, any other words? This has been a fantastic conversation. Wow. So many revelations.
I've been making this warning lately, and it sounds like I'm being an asshole, but I'm not. So if people bug out and they come up to my forest, I'm going to run them out of here, because I know that come winter, they're going to die either from exposure or dysentery, or one of their mates is going to kill them, and I don't want to have to deal with their body. Right. So I'm going to have to run them out. Otherwise, their corpse is going to stink up the water and the forest. So I'm not being a jerk, but a lot of people up here feel the same way. So my morning is be careful. Don't think you could.
They could just run to the mountains or run to places and.
Right. They know how to camp, right?
Like, no, we're in charge here. So.
Yeah. Have you ever? I mean, I ask them, have you ever camped in the snow? Oh yeah. I mean, have you ever camped the whole winter in the snow? Because I mean, you hear things like, well, I know how to fish and hunt and gather. It's like, yeah, but you're going to be doing that all day long. Who's going to clean up your place? Who's going to when the rains come and wash a bunch of mud? And I mean, no, you got to leave. You're just going to die. You're not used to it. We've been doing this for 30 years, and we're still trying to figure it out.
It sounds like you're getting it pretty good, though. Wow, that's pretty impressive to have a stream, produce your electricity. That's the way to do it. Good job.
Yeah, we have hydro, wind, and solar, but the wind and solar don't work all that well. But the stream, I could live off the stream alone, the creek.
I've heard that from a lot of people. Yeah, that's really the way to go. Hydro.
Well, the hardware has gotten so sophisticated now that and cost effective. I remember like 20 years ago, I looked into this kind of thing. It was just impossible, too expensive and too weird. Too difficult. But now if you know what you're doing, it's pretty easy.
Very good. So we've been talking for years. People need to have food and water to last. I'd say up to a year. What are your thoughts? Is that enough?
No.
You need to have some survival skills.
No.
I got great survival skills. I could bug out. I could walk out naked and thrive, not survive.
Yeah. But you would get bored with it after a while, right? Because you get food. I mean, food fatigue is a real problem. People think they can just eat fish and rice all the time. You get food fatigue, start losing weight, but we have enough stuff that we could stay here indefinitely. I could close the road, and we could be up here for the rest of our lives. And not have a problem.
Very good.
I mean, our lifestyle would change gradually, as we start running out of supplies and things like propane. But I've got gasifiers. I've got a lifetime supply of firewood up here, and I got the creek. So
brilliant. And you know how to gather food. So that's very cool.
I know how to hunt and fish and gather and steal.
Awesome.
Rob.
So we're moving into that. So would you say you want to be nomadic or have a farm or a ranch or something? What would you say?
Well, I'd rather have a ranch. I'd rather be on my grandfather's horse. But in these times, I think having a base compound where you could grow food and raise livestock, plus the ability to bug out within 48 hours is important. I mean, to me, it's important. That's what we're setting up for.
I think that's really good. And you're right. People get attached to their stuff and they don't want to leave it. It's kind of like why a lot of people stick with Silicon Valley, all these years when they know it's evil and it's bad. For me, when I saw that, I was no longer going to be able to function the way I was functioning before in the CIA, it was time for me to leave. So, and then it came in and tried to destroy me. So it's like a mafia. It's like a mafia group.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
You can never leave. But we did. So congratulations. And you've written this great book, Silicon Satan. Highly recommend this book. You're going to get great insights onto what's going on in the world. It's a tough read or listen, but it's part of survival going forward, I think.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
I think if you don't know thy enemy, art of war, if you don't know your enemy, they're going to get you. They're going to.
Well, that's the whole point of the book, is to get people to look at the world the way I kind of look at it, and you'll start seeing things a little bit differently. Hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Cregg, thanks so much. Great honor and pleasure having you on again. Look forward to more conversations in the future. Good luck out there with that hydro. It sounds fantastic. Good job. And look forward to seeing you in the future.
Same. Thanks for having me.